In every corner of the earth darkness falls. It descends across the open plains, spills silently into the depths of the ocean, and wraps even the tallest peaks in shadow. And yet the natural world does not fear it. The lion does not forget how to hunt. The owl does not lose its way. The seed, buried beneath layers of soil, does not panic. It waits. We, however, often respond differently. When the light of certainty fades in our lives, when hope feels distant and answers fall silent, we grow restless. We question, we fear, but what if the darkness is not a sign of God's absence, but of his deeper work across creation? Some of the greatest transformations happen not in light, but in shadow. The caterpillar dissolves in a cocoon before it learns to fly. The desert lies barren before rain awakens life, and even the stars are only visible when the sky grows dark. Perhaps, then, our seasons of struggle are not detours but designs. Perhaps they are invitations to trust not in what we see, but in the one who sees beyond it. And it is there, in the quiet heart of the darkness, that faith is not merely spoken, but lived, in the dim underbelly of the forest, beneath the litter of leaves and the hush of towering trees. A world stirs quietly, patiently, and almost invisibly. It is a place far removed from sunlight, from certainty, from the eyes of even the most watchful creatures. Here, in the darkness of the earth, seeds lie dormant, not lifeless, but waiting, waiting, as if they know something we do not. It is a peculiar thing, this trust that nature displays. A seed no larger than a grain of sand, buried under inches of cold soil, deprived of light and warmth, gives no outward sign of purpose or hope. Yet inside it something ancient stirs, a blueprint written long ago that tells it, asterisk grow. Asterisk not because the world above is already bright, but because it asterisk will be asterisk. So it begins. In the black silence of the soil, without audience or applause, the shell cracks. Delicate tendrils push downward first, not upward, anchoring themselves in the hidden. There is no rush, only trust. The seed does not demand the sun before it begins. It acts in faith that the sun still exists. That light, though unseen, remains constant. This small miracle mirrors something far larger. In the natural world, it happens 1,000 times a day, but in the spiritual world, our inner world, it is just as profound. There are moments in life when we find ourselves buried, not literally, but emotionally, spiritually. Moments when loss, illness, fear, or failure envelop us in silence. The path disappears. The sky goes dark. And we ask, as humans have for generations, asterisk, where is God in all of this? Asterisk, the answer, though quiet, is not absent. He is where he has always been, in the unseen, in the waiting, in the workings beneath the surface. Trusting God in such times is not unlike the seed trusting the sun. It is to believe without evidence that light has not gone, that it will return, that in fact it never truly left. Nature offers countless such lessons. Consider the caterpillar which wraps itself in a cocoon, seemingly sealing its fate in darkness. Inside, its very form dissolves. What once crawled must come apart entirely before it can learn to fly. The transformation is not visible. It cannot be rushed, but it happens, and it happens because something in the caterpillar surrenders to the unknown. And so we too are asked to trust, not in what we see, but in what we cannot. To lean not on our own understanding, but on a deeper wisdom, on the character of God, which is faithful, constant, and unchanging. Even when the world seems anything but, there is, in this trust, a kind of resilience that cannot be manufactured by comfort or clarity. True faith is not formed in daylight. It is forged in the dark, in the hours when prayers feel unanswered, in the spaces where hope thins, and still Something in us pushes onward, not because we know what comes next, but because we trust asterisk who asterisk does. The river does not question the bend ahead. It flows. The moon does not fight the eclipse. It waits. The tree does not reject winter. It stands. All of nature operates in cycles it cannot control. Governed by a creator it does not doubt. And if the trees can stand in frost, if the birds can migrate without map, if the stars can shine behind clouds, then perhaps we, too, can remain steady in our shadowed seasons, not through sight, but through trust. A trust that says, asterisk, even here, God is with me, even now he is working, even when I do not feel him, he is faithful. Asterisk, like the seed, we do not need the sun to start growing. We simply need to believe that it will rise. Far from the cities, where lights do not drown out the stars, one can gaze up into the great vault of the night sky and feel something extraordinary. There, scattered like dust across black velvet, constellations whisper of a grand design. But the stars themselves, radiant as they appear, are unimaginably distant, billions of miles away, and yet we trust them. We chart our ships by them. We speak of guidance, of destiny, of the heavens. We believe in their light, even though we will never touch them. This quiet trust in the unseen is not limited to stargazers or scientists. It lives in the wild, in every corner of the natural world. Beneath the ocean's surface, sea turtles hatch in darkness. They do not know the way. They have never seen the moon, and yet, as if summoned by something beyond their understanding, they scurry toward the shimmering light reflected on the wave. Not one of them questions it. Not one of them demands proof. They follow because something within tells them it is right. It is easy to trust when the way is lit, when the path is straight and firm beneath our feet. But what of the nights when nothing is clear, when the world grows quiet, and the questions are louder than the answers? What of the times when we cannot see the way forward, and we are asked not to run, but to wait? This, perhaps, is where true trust takes root, not in the light, but in the dark. Imagine a glacier in the polar wilderness. Beneath its miles of ice, ancient rivers move with silent purpose. No eyes see them. No ears hear them, but they are there, carving canyons deep beneath the surface, reshaping the earth over centuries. Their work is unseen, their progress slow, but the transformation they bring is profound. So it is with the hand of God in our lives. When we trust him in the absence of clarity, we step into something far older than ourselves, a divine rhythm that does not depend on sight or speed. God moves in silence. He shapes us in stillness, and though we may feel forgotten, we are in fact being formed. A lioness, stalking through the tall grass, knows when to pause. Her stillness is not hesitation. It is precision. It is patience. Her pause is part of the plan. In much the same way, when our lives fall into what feels like pause, when prayers are met with silence and doors remain closed, we may mistake it for divine absence. But perhaps it is preparation. Perhaps God is doing what we cannot yet see. The underground networks of fungi, vast and intricate, connect trees across entire forests. Through them, nutrients are shared. Warnings are sent, and yet this entire system operates beneath our feet, invisible to the eye. Trees that appear isolated are, in fact, part of a much larger conversation, an invisible community sustaining one another through the dark, cold months. In our seasons of darkness, we may feel cut off, But like those trees, we are not alone. We are part of something larger, sustained by a God who works not only in what is visible, but even more powerfully in what is hidden. Faith, then, is not about understanding everything. It is about believing that even when nothing seems to move, something is. That even when the world goes quiet, God has not stopped speaking. Just as the tides respond to the pull of a moon they cannot touch, we, too, are drawn forward by a presence greater than ourselves. Trusting him is not a denial of fear or a rejection of grief. It is simply the decision to walk forward anyway. To wake up one more day, to whisper one more prayer, to believe that dawn will come, not because we feel it, but because we know who sends it. And when it does, when the first light pierces the horizon, we will understand that even the longest night was not wasted, that even in the darkness God was near, working, watching, waiting, just beyond what we could see. In the desert, where heat scorches the earth by day and cold presses in by night, life survives in silence. A cactus, tall and still, bears the heat without flinching. It stores water carefully, stretching roots deep into barren soil. It doesn't bloom every day. It doesn't grow with haste. It waits, motionless. Quiet for weeks, months, even years, but it is not idle. Beneath the silence, within that thick green skin, there is preparation, a slow gathering of strength, a storing of what will one day sustain new life. And then, without warning, a single flower bursts forth, brilliant, delicate, fleeting. It blooms not because the world is easy, but because it is time. Stillness in nature is never wasted. In the icy realms of the Antarctic, the emperor penguin endures one of the harshest breeding rituals on Earth. After laying her single egg, the mother passes it gently to the father and departs for the sea. The male stands still, unmoving, the egg balanced on his feet, covered by a fold of his skin. For more than 2 months he fasts. He does not walk. He does not feed. He simply waits, motionless against wind and storm in temperatures that fall far below freezing. All for the life growing within that egg. There are no signs of progress, no way to measure the passing days, no guarantee, only stillness and trust. In moments of stillness in our own lives, we often grow restless. We are taught that movement is proof of life, that noise is proof of importance, that progress must always be visible, but nature tells us otherwise. Sometimes the most profound things happen in the quiet. When we are forced to stop, when our plans collapse, when we find ourselves waiting on something we cannot control, we begin to wonder, has something gone wrong? Why is God silent? And yet, the absence of noise is not the absence of presence. Just as the embryo grows inside the shell with no outward sign, so God works within us, quietly, precisely, on a schedule not our own. In a forest preparing for spring, there is a moment, just before the thaw, when all seems dead. Trees stripped bare, soil frozen, air silent, but underneath the thaw has already begun. Sap rises, roots stir. The season is changing, but you cannot yet see it. Stillness is not stagnation. It is the slow turning of a page. Sometimes God asks us to wait, not because we are being punished, but because we are being prepared. The delay is not denial, it is formation. The eagle, in its nest atop the highest cliffs, waits patiently for the wind. It does not leap blindly, it watches, it senses the shifting currents, the rising thermals, and when the time is right, it spreads its wings, not to struggle against the wind, but to ride it. So it is with the soul that learns to wait upon God. Stillness requires faith, not the kind that moves mountains with a word, but the kind that remains anchored when nothing moves at all. It is trust without answers, surrender without explanation, but stillness is where the shaping happens. The diamond is formed under pressure and time, the pearl in silence, hidden in darkness. Even the human heart, before it takes its first beat, is shaped in the womb out of sight, out of sound. The world may not applaud stillness. It may not even notice it, but God does, and when the moment comes, when the cactus blooms, when the penguin's chick breaks the shell, when the tree bursts into bud, suddenly the silence is transformed into beauty. The quiet reveals its purpose, and the stillness proves to have been not a pause in life, but a part of it, a necessary, sacred chapter in a story still unfolding. So let us not despise the silence, let us not fear the stillness. For it may be there, in the space where nothing seems to happen, that everything is being made ready. In the aftermath of destruction, when fire has swept through a forest, it is easy to assume all is lost. The trunks are blackened, the air smells of smoke and silence. Life, it seems, has fled, but if one waits, days, weeks, seasons, something remarkable happens. Tiny green shoots begin to push up through the ash. Buds appear on charred branches, and beneath the surface, where fire could not reach, roots awaken. What was thought to be an ending reveals itself as a beginning. From devastation comes rebirth. This is not rare, it is nature's way. Across vast landscapes, fire is not the enemy of life, but part of its rhythm. The flames clear the old, make way for the new. They crack open seeds that require heat to germinate. In time, the soil itself is nourished by the ash. What once looked like ruin becomes the ground for resilience, and so too with us, when hardship scorches through our lives. Loss, pain, uncertainty. We may feel stripped bare, we may feel ruined, but deep within, something is stirring. Not despite the suffering, but because of it. There is no creature more fragile in appearance than a butterfly, but few know the battle it endures in the chrysalis. Within that still shell, the caterpillar does not merely grow wings. It dissolves entirely, reduced to fluid, broken down to the basics of life. It becomes unrecognizable. Only then does transformation begin, and when it emerges, it does not crawl, it flies. Pain, in nature, is not always the end of the story. It is often the turning point. Even the stars are born in darkness, in clouds of gas and dust, compressed under pressure. Without that darkness, they would never shine. In the cold depths of the ocean, hydrothermal vents spew boiling water into an otherwise frozen world. It seems a place where nothing should live, and yet, around those vents, life flourishes. Entire ecosystems thrive in the unlikeliest of places, fed not by sunlight, but by what pours out from deep beneath the earth's crust. This is the paradox. The harshest places often produce the most extraordinary life. It is the same with the human soul. In comfort, we grow calm, but in difficulty, we grow deep. It is in suffering that compassion is born. In struggle that strength is refined, in uncertainty that faith is tested and made real. Consider the mighty oak. It does not spread its roots in the sunshine alone. It sends them deep during the storm, when the winds demand anchoring. Without resistance it would topple, but because it has endured, it stands tall, its strength unseen but deeply embedded. Even the night sky teaches us this. Stars, those ancient furnaces of light, do not become visible until the world grows dark. When the sun sets and all else fades, they appear, not newly born, but newly seen. They were always there. We simply needed the darkness to notice them, And so, when darkness falls in our own lives, it is tempting to believe that all is lost. But perhaps it is then, and only then, that the deeper truths emerge. That courage we never knew we had comes forward. That hope, buried beneath distraction, rises up. Perhaps even faith, that quiet strength of the soul, is not fully born in peace, but in pressure. The natural world is not without pain. It knows hunger, drought, death, but it does not give up. It adapts, it recovers, it grows again, sometimes slowly, sometimes silently, but always steadily, and so may we. If the forest can rise from the ash, if the butterfly can emerge from the dark, if the flower can bloom in the desert, then surely we too can find life again after sorrow. We too can trust that, somehow, in ways we do not yet see, our pain will not be wasted. For in the design of life, both wild and human, resilience is not the exception. It is the rule. High in the Himalayas, where the air thins and silence dominates the peaks, a snow leopard moves, careful, steady, unseen. Its existence is almost mythological, elusive, shrouded in secrecy, perfectly adapted to the brutal cold. It does not ask the mountain to be gentle. It does not beg the wind to calm. It lives, not because conditions are kind, but because it is built to survive them. Nature is filled with such lives, creatures that endure not by changing the environment, but by adapting to it. Their survival is not a matter of comfort. It is a matter of design. Not every season is kind, and yet life presses on. Always there is this astonishing resilience, but beneath that there is something even more profound, trust, not in the moment, but in the pattern, in the order of things, in the rhythm set by the one who governs all. This trust is not passive. It is not simply waiting for conditions to improve. It is anchored in something deeper, an understanding that though the world changes, there is something, or rather someone, who does not. In the wild savanna, the great acacia tree survives the dry season when everything else withers. Its roots stretch wide and deep, tapping into sources unseen. It doesn't draw strength from the weather above, but from what lies below. So, too, the mighty baobab holds water in its trunk, a silent reservoir against months of thirst. Neither tree depends on a gentle season. Both depend on their design, and their design is not random. It is intentional. And so we must consider our own design. There are times in life when the warmth vanishes, when the sun of joy is eclipsed by grief, when the rains of provision dry up, when the path ahead is obscured. In such times we often turn inward and ask, has God changed? But he has not. The weather changes, the landscape shifts, but the Creator does not. The same hands that hung the stars still hold the strands of our lives. The same voice that spoke light into the void still speaks peace into chaos. He is not shaped by our seasons, he shapes them. To trust him, then, is to anchor our faith not in what we see, but in who he is. The Arctic tern flies from pole to pole, chasing light across the globe. It does so not because the way is easy, but because it knows where to go. Instinct passed down through generations guides it. It is pulled by something it cannot explain, an inner compass written by the same intelligence that guides the planets in orbit, and it trusts it. We, too, are born with something deep inside us, a longing, a knowing, a whisper of eternity. We sense that there is more, that we are not accidents, that we are seen, and in our darkest moments that whisper becomes louder, not in words, but in presence. It is tempting to think that when life grows dark, God grows distant. But in truth, he is closest in those moments. not with noise or spectacle, but with quiet constancy, like the mountain that stands unmoved through storm and sun. He is the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. In the coral reefs, when a storm churns the sea, fish retreat into the rock. The outer waters may rage, but within the reef's shelter life holds fast. So too must we. We do not stand against the storm by sheer will. We stand by sheltering in the truth of who God is, unchanging, faithful, present, when the rains fall, when the winds howl, when nothing around us makes sense. Our trust must rest not in the temporary, but in the eternal. And the eternal is this: He is good, not only when skies are blue, but when clouds hang heavy, not only when prayers are answered, but when they're met with silence. He is good not because life is easy, but because his nature does not shift with circumstance. Like the stars that shine through every age, like the ocean tides that rise and fall in rhythm, his faithfulness endures. And when all else trembles, this alone remains: He is God, He is near, and He does not change. In the coldest corners of the planet, where the sun disappears for months and ice hardens the landscape into silence, something remarkable happens. Life waits. Beneath the frozen ground, seeds remain buried. Within the hollows of trees, tiny hearts continue to beat slowly, patiently. Even the great bear, wrapped in sleep, does not give up on the coming spring. It is not a question of asterisk, if asterisk, the sun will rise again. Only asterisk when asterisk, the natural world is full of rhythms unshaken by panic. Tides recede, but they always return. The moon waxes, then wanes, but never disappears. Trees lose their leaves, standing stripped and still, yet never once do they question whether spring will come. They asterisk no asterisk, not by sight, not by proof, but by something woven deep into the fabric of creation. The darkness never wins. Even the night sky, at its blackest, is pierced by starlight. That light, though it may take thousands of years to reach us, remains. It travels through the void undeterred, untouched. And in our human experience, our seasons of sorrow, confusion, or pain, this too is true of God's promises. For while the darkness may seem long, it is never final. In the African savannah, the first drops of rain after drought send ripples through the soil. Within days, dry earth becomes green. Shoots rise, insects awaken, herds migrate back. The return of life feels sudden, but it is not random. It is a response, a chain of purpose long anticipated, and so it is with hope. Hope, in many ways, is the first drop of rain, a reminder that what we see is not all there is, that what feels like an ending is often only the middle. That grief is not the final word. Some species of cicadas live underground for 17 years, 17 years of darkness, silence, stillness, and then all at once they rise, not one, not two, but millions. They burst from the earth, singing, a chorus of life, prepared in the deep, the timing perfect, the darkness necessary. It is tempting to measure life by what we can see, but the unseen is often the foundation. And in our most desperate moments, when all seems lost, there is a truth that anchors beneath it all. God is not finished. There is a tree in South America, the fire-resistant asterisk, Copaiphora asterisk. After a blaze, its bark may be scarred, but its heartwood remains untouched. The tree does not grow bitter. It does not surrender. Instead, it pushes forth new leaves, slowly, almost defiantly. Its roots, deep and wide, are stronger than fire, and in time it flourishes again. There is something deeply noble in this pattern, something eternal. Our faith, like that tree, is not destroyed by hardship. It may be scorched. It may carry the marks of survival, but it also carries the memory of who stood beside us in the flames. And it is in those moments when we think we cannot go on, when the sky remains grey and the answers do not come, that trust in God becomes not only our belief, but our lifeline. The return of the light does not depend on our strength. It depends on his promise. Even now, deep within the soil of our sorrow, something is stirring, perhaps unseen, perhaps unspoken, but real, a shoot of hope, a root of purpose, the early pulse of redemption. And it is not the result of our striving, but his faithfulness. For the God who shaped the stars, who instructs the oceans, who sets the migration paths of birds, does not forget those he created in his image. He does not leave them in the night forever. He waits with us and for us until the morning, and the morning asterisk will asterisk come, not as a reward for the perfect, but as the inevitable arrival of mercy. The light will break. Slowly at first, perhaps just a glimmer on the horizon, then steadily it will rise, and when it does we will see not only the world anew, but ourselves changed, strengthened, not because we avoided the dark, but because we lived through it. The darkness does not win. It never has. It only prepares the stage for the glory of the dawn. And so, from the silent forest floor to the endless night sky, from the frozen earth to the fire, scarred tree, we find the same quiet truth echoing across creation. Darkness is never the end. It is part of the journey, a passage, a necessary stillness before the bloom. Nature, in all her wisdom, does not panic when the light fades. She waits, she trusts, she endures, knowing that life is not suspended in darkness, but shaped by it. And beneath her rhythms, behind every season, stands the steady hand of a creator who does not sleep, who does not vanish with the sun, who is present even when unseen. To trust God in times of darkness is not to deny the fear or the pain. It is to believe that beyond what we feel, beyond what we see, he is working, silently, faithfully, purposefully. For every seed that waits underground, for every star that breaks the night, for every life that rises again from the ashes, tells us the same sacred story, that the night may last for a time, but the light always returns. And the God who authors both is worthy of our trust, even here, even now, even in the dark.